Welcome, welcome, welcome. Have a nice little wander. Hey, hello again, Tish, Bron with Susan, Maggie, etc. Put my little specs on so I know what on earth is going on. Okay, good. Hello again, Susan, Jonathan, Alison, Mary. Hello, Gabby. Nice to see you all. It's good light here because the evening is just getting dim. This is perfect. Hi, Laurie. Okay, we'll start down here and we'll walk up towards the bridge, which you may be able to see behind me. I didn't go home for tea. Mike, I couldn't get home in time. Hello, Luigi, Tessa, Pavlina. Hello, it's Gerard here again. So you may have been with me earlier. If you weren't, we were in Holland Park and we walked to the site of the Ukrainian embassy and the statue of Saint Volodymyr. And apologies if there was a bit of signal issuing, but only lasted a few minutes here and there. So today we're going to be walking over Albert Bridge. You can hear some hooting. It's rush hour. People are annoyed. They want to get home. I don't. I want to stay out all night. So I'm just going to show us a couple of things. The road we're on is Oakley Street and we're in Chelsea. So we're going away from the bridge for a couple of seconds and then we're going to walk back onto it. Chelsea's very affluent. Battersea is these days. But over the years, they realised that the farming town of Battersea and the very posh, rich area of Chelsea needed a bit of a bridge between them. Let me just show you here on this road, Oakley Street, where this man used to live. Great Bob Marley lived there in 1977, passed away in 81. I just wanted to show us that. So we're going to go back up towards this beautiful bridge in front of us. I think it's the prettiest of all of them. So the story behind it, it's an interesting one. There are quite a few bridges in this area. You've got Chelsea Bridge, you've got Vauxhall Bridge, you've got Battersea Bridge, you've got Wandsworth Bridge, and we've got this one, Albert Bridge. So over the years, there was this rapid population growth in Chelsea and across the river in Battersea. So here we're in SW4, across the river SW11. And in the mid-1800s, Chelsea Bridge, which is to the left of the bridge we're going on, had opened. So that opened in 1858, and they used to call that Victoria Bridge, but it's now Chelsea Bridge. Battersea Bridge on the right-hand side, and we'll see both of them when we're on Albert Bridge. That was pretty old, mainly a wooden bridge, and it was corroding about quite badly. Marley would play football in Battersea Park. I know that very well. By the way, it's quite mild today. It's a lot milder than this man would have felt it years ago. Scott of the Antarctic, who lived here just on the edge of Albert Bridge. It's a good little link, isn't it? The weather. I'm talking about Scott of the Antarctic. Wow. So in 1860, Prince Albert decided that there should be an additional bridge. The idea is he suggested a toll bridge, a bridge that you would pay to get over and then it would compensate the ferryman. But when Prince Albert suggests something, it's more or less that he's demanding it. It would give very good access to Battersea Park on the far side and would also make sure that the farmers on one side could hang out in the posh area of Chelsea. Just want to show us another sculpture before we go on the bridge here. Yeah, the picture's fine. Just refresh, I think. So this is Boy with a Dolphin, David Wynne. Let's just show it properly. The sky in the background. That's nice. Yeah. And just behind that, to the left, There's an old cabman shelter. These would originally be for the hansom cabs, which we now know as the black cabs, so they could take their tea and so on in there. And they wouldn't be big enough to put a horse and a cart in, so they had to make them a certain size. And there are a few of them around London. Some of them still are in use. This one isn't at the moment. Anyway, the Albert Bridge Company was set up. Obvious name, obviously. The designer was a man named Roland Mason Ordish. And it was agreed in 1864 that they should build a bridge between Chelsea Bridge and Battersea, which is way on in the far off distance there. You can probably see it in the centre of the screen. This area we're on, the road, is called Chelsea Embankment. And that was being built in the 1860s as well. And all the workmen and the money and, I suppose, all of the stones went to build this. So from 1864 to 1870, nothing got done. Just want to show us another sculpture here. F. Derwent Wood. Chelsea Arts Club paid for this and put this here. It's a nice view of the bridge in the distance. So the bridge does light up in the evening, but we're not exactly sure when. It gets very misty in this area. And so it's one of those bridges that is completely illuminated at night by 4,000 lights. Luigi, you lived around this area, didn't you? I know that. My bridge. Unless you paid for it, I don't know. So Ordish, Roland Mason Ordish, who designed this bridge in front of us, he went off to Prague. And he decided in that meantime to build Prince of Wales Drive. Wow, it's just on the other side. Amazing. I know it well. Yeah, Ordish went to Prague and he built the Franz Joseph Bridge, which crossed the river Vltava. It's a different bridge now. But this is, along with Tower Bridge, I think one of the most beautiful, anyway, if not the prettiest bridge. And we're about to go up on it. I remember cycling into town. So if you go further west in that direction, you can cycle along the embankment. You'll eventually end up in Victoria and then the Houses of Parliament, Westminster. And I used to live in Putney, which is behind where we are. And that's very low. You always have to drop your head down to get under that. Okay, up we go. It's one of the quieter bridges of London, which is nice. Lived in Kensington. Nice. Not bad to say you lived in Kensington. We've got tolls here. Old toll booths. We'll see them on the other side as well. So the system behind this bridge, this Ordish fella, they called it the Ordish-Lefebvre system. So it was a mixture of a regular suspension bridge and a beam bridge with stays or pillars underneath it. So a lot of these aren't cables, they're just thick iron bars. And I suppose the idea about bridges in London, they're built or had been built with public money. So you had to have these considerations. I suppose they had to be efficient, they had to be useful. So you always had a need for a bridge. They had to be elegant because it was London. They wanted elegant bridges for tourism. And then the other consideration is the cost. It's reminiscent of the Green Chain Bridge in Budapest. Yeah, just keep refreshing. I've got a good signal here. So normally when it's just one person saying there's a bad signal, if you get about 10 people saying it, you know there's an issue. So yeah, refresh. There are four main materials really in bridges. You've got wood, stone, iron, concrete. Most of the time these days in London, the bridges are concrete with steel in the centre. Let's give us a view from the centre of the bridge. I do, Diane. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. It's an interesting story. What happened? It was 1877. The Metropolitan Board of Works bought all of the bridges, so they all stopped being toll bridges. Your son lives in Nine Elms. Nice. Nice. That's behind us now. Nine Elms is really up and coming as well at the moment. So this bridge in front of us is Battersea Bridge, the bridge we're on, Albert Bridge. It opened in 1873. The bridge is 710 feet long, so it's 217 meters. And it does have these toll booths, which over the years, they would have helped pay for the build. Just look on the other side now. As it is one of the quieter London bridges, it's quite easy to get across. This and Southwark Bridge, because they have other bridges so close to them. This is, they call it a white elephant. They built it, it's so beautiful. But sadly, it doesn't get used as much as any other. That's a great view over there. Yeah, 1877, all the bridges were bought by this Metropolitan Board of Works. The newer ones, way over in the east, in places like Dartford, which is out of London, they still charge because they're quite modern. Yeah, the detailing is wonderful. And these are iron bars, so it is a beam bridge and a suspension bridge. Let's walk on, let's get some people out of the way here. That's what we want, a nice quiet bridge just to ourselves. Over there you've got Battersea Park. You may be able to see in the distance, you see some buildings, and right in the centre of the screen there are 4 pillars. And that's Battersea Power Station, which is the largest building, brick building in the country. And the same man, Giles Gilbert Scott, built that, and he built what is now the Tate Modern, 2 power stations. For many years it wasn't used. The company bought it, luxury apartments, retail, and a new tube station. The Peace Pagoda is right in the centre there. We won't sadly get up to it. Oh, wouldn't it be great? Let's get back onto this here. You can hear the noise. It's a bit like the Millennium Bridge. It can wobble. You can actually feel it when the cars go over it. And the other day I did a Millennium Bridge walk. Thank you, Noreen. Just to let you folks know, anything I get today, I'm donating to the Red Cross. We did that earlier. We're going to do it. Anne said, you must not march in step. I'm trying not to. Marching in step. This is the problem. They call it synchronous lateral excitation. Yeah, the funfair isn't there at the moment, John. It's there certain times of the year, but it's not there now. It's what they call this synchronous lateral excitation. They call it a positive feedback phenomenon. So imagine, just simply put, if you were on a boat and it's swaying, you try to balance, your feet end up going with the sway. And if you walk normally, just if I was just wandering along here, even if I'm just walking at my normal step, every 2 or 3 steps, I am kind of going left and right. Even though you're really going up and down, you are swaying from side to side. And hundreds of people doing this, like they did at the Millennium Bridge. 100,000 people crossed that on the first day. Look how quiet it is. It ends up wobbling. So they called it the Trembling Lady. Chelsea Barracks were nearby. Chelsea Barracks had hundreds of soldiers marching over here daily, and they would march in step. And they were told to break step when you walked over the bridge because it vibrated and swayed more than they expected it to. And the same happened with the Millennium Footbridge. The Millennium Bridge was only open for a day and a half, and people just got on it and they wanted to make it wobble. So they closed it down. It was closed for a year and a half, and then they reopened it and stabilized the entire thing. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Eileen. It's amazing, really, to think that it's 130 years, more or less, after this bridge opened, and the same problems still apply to structures. So when it was wobbling, this trembling lady, in 1884, a man called Joseph Bazalgette, who was the chief engineer of the Metropolitan Board of Works, he designed a lot of the sewer systems and redesigned the Victoria Embankment, which is further along near Embankment Station. He decided to stabilise the bridge and replaced the wooden walkway and put a few more chains and a few more iron bars. So this is why it's this hybrid of two, if not three, different styles, because it actually has stabilisation underneath it, which I'll show us in a moment. Be nice to get a view from it from a distance from Battersea Park. It's a nice colour. It's another important thing with bridges, especially here in Battersea, that it gets misty. There's a very famous Pogues song. The great Shane MacGowan wrote Misty Morning, Albert Bridge. It's a little love story. It's all set here. It's got a weight limit. Had been 5 tons in the 1880s. And now it's a lot less. It's 2 tons, which means the people behind us who live in Chelsea, a lot of them drive Range Rovers or Chelsea tractors, they call them. They can't come on this bridge. It's not regulated, it's not forced upon people. But one thing that does help is right down at the end here, there's a width restriction. So a lot of those large Range Rovers, big people carriers can't get through anyway. Most of them would be over 2 tons. 1926, there was a proposal to actually knock down the bridge and make a stronger one. But it didn't happen. 1957, they wanted to knock it down, completely demolish it, and not have a bridge here at all. And that was fought as well by, amongst others, John Betjeman, the poet. This is Battersea Park we're going into now. And it has been strengthened quite drastically over the years. But it's the only bridge that has not been replaced in London since it was built. The only other bridge you can say that about is Tower Bridge, and of course the Millennium Bridge. Let's just look from here. In 1973, you can see 2 large pillars in the centre of the screen. There's an iron girder, steel, metal girder going underneath. And that was added to stabilise the bridge even more than it was before. Oh, the wobble. Sorry about that. You know what happened there? My mic got caught on some railings. These fellas here. I'm not drunk. I promise. Yeah, so 1973 they installed those. Let me just turn us around. This is the riverside of Battersea Park. The park is lovely, and I suppose deep down the idea was for the people of Chelsea to have access to Battersea Park. And there were many proposals over the years because it was such a quiet bridge to make it pedestrian only. But instead they just reduced the weight limit to 2 tons. It's got 4,000 LED lamps. If we're lucky enough, they might come on, but it's still quite bright here. The park is obviously home to a lot of great dog walkers. It's a regular thing. You often see individuals walking with 10 dogs. It's a real great business these days. Dog urine. Sorry if you're eating. It's become a bit of a problem. It did rot some of the foundations over the years. Yep, somebody mentioned earlier, A Clockwork Orange has been filmed on this bridge. Maybe Baby, Absolute Beginners. And the reason it has this pinkish look to it, it's also a bit blue and a bit green, is simply for visibility. Maybe we'll try and make our way up a bit further along Battersea Park here. I don't want to walk in to the water. The tide is quite low today, so we should be all right. There are now 14 bridges which cross London. 12 of them are illuminated. There is a company and they call themselves Illuminated River. So they've been hired over the years to beautify the river. The River Thames is supposed to be one of the cleanest rivers in Europe. When you look at it, it always looks muddy, but that's just the riverbed. It is brown, it is full of sediment. But this is a lovely walk in the morning. If you lived in this area, you'd wander all the way along to Chelsea Bridge, the Battersea Power Station. You continue on to Vauxhall and Nine Elms. So all the buildings right in front of us are the new developments of Nine Elms. And past that, then you're coming up to Westminster. And you're coming into, past that, the City of London. It's just quite nice to walk, and when I turn us around in a moment, we'll be able to see the bridge from a distance. And there is some twinkling going on, but they haven't lit everything yet, but you might be able to see the twinkling. My son walks in that park most mornings. That's nice, Diane. It is lovely. It's great in the summer, about 5 o'clock. On the other side of the bridge, you've got Cadogan Pier, which is one of the boat stops. So Transport for London obviously run a boat as well, which you can tap in with your Oyster card or your debit card. But Uber, the company Uber, have decided that they wanted in on that. So they bought their own boats and they paid for their own advertising. But when you get an Uber boat, it's still most of the money going to Transport for London. And it is a tidal river, so it can go up and down. The bridge further on, Chelsea Bridge, would have been known as Victoria Bridge. As you cross over that, it leads into Victoria Coach Station, Victoria Train Station. And you've got Vauxhall Bridge behind that, which is quite a simple bridge. So there are only a few in London which you would think, well, it's not worth walking over. The history might be great on either side, but it's like walking over London Bridge. It's a very simple bridge from the 1970s. Diana's asked, is it a safe area to walk around early morning or in the evening by yourself? Well, they do close the park at night. They never used to, but it does close at night. But early morning, when they do open it, and it's a bit earlier that they open it in the summer, it is safe enough. Because the joggers, that's joggers with a J, by the way, they come out here in the mornings, and the dog walkers come out very early as well. We're going to try and make our way up to the Peace Pagoda here, just because it was mentioned earlier. Actually, I felt like it would have been a longer walk all the way up to it. I'm still looking back to see if it's lit up, and it's not. Quite annoying for us all, because it will probably happen just as I say goodbye. If anyone joined us in Holland Park earlier, it was an interesting walk, very moving, and we saw the statue of Saint Volodymyr, and we saw the Ukrainian embassy, and we all paid our respects there. It's nice, thank you, Anne. Is that the Shard in the distance? So the one on the right is the Peace Pagoda. if I stop here, you'll be able to see the shard right in the center. There's a couple of cranes. You can probably see the shard there. If I keep still enough. Anyone's interested in the Chelsea Flower Show, that opens quite soon, and that opens on that side of the river, just in front of us there. Tickets sell out ridiculously quickly for that. Yeah, the white lights on the top, so you can see the shard right in the center of the screen now. Beverly has exhibited at Chelsea Flower Show with her flower arranging. Beverly, that's amazing. Were you on TV, Beverly? Did they show any of you? Did you get interviewed? Oh, no, sadly not. Oh, what a shame. I would have found it on YouTube somewhere. Coming up to the Peace Pagoda right in front. Used as a bandstand. You get bands playing here in the summer. But everything's starting to bloom now. The camellias are coming up. The hydrangeas are just starting to open. It would be nice to have a little walk around Battersea Park. I didn't think we were going to get this far into it. So next tour, in this area, we'll talk about Battersea Park a bit more. I just wanted us to see the Peace Pagoda. It's still so bright. I'm still looking round. The bridge, still not lit. Luigi was saying it was his bridge. My personal bridge is Wandsworth Bridge, because that's where I lived for many years. One of the more simple bridges in London. I didn't really find it romantic, to be honest. There's the Peace Pagoda. Buddhist monks who built the pagoda invited all us dog walkers when it opened. Isn't that lovely? There it is. Reminds me of the pagoda at Kew. Obviously slightly different, but just thought, why not? Why not see it, indeed? Maybe I'll go up the steps. Gonna look around again, see if the bridge. Let's just take a little look around again, see the bridge from the distance. No. Will be lights at some point. Okay, let's get up there before we finish. Lovely evening for jogging. Very, very mild out tonight. I brought my usual amount of layers on this tour. I've taken 2 of them off before I started. Feels like spring, guys. All beginning. Here we go. That's lovely. So much bigger when you get close to it. I think this could be a good spot to end. Just here. Just here to think about peace. Hey, so I enjoyed that walk. Oh, I'm a bit out of breath. I don't mind telling you folks. A little bit out of breath. I'm so not used to it. this walking for a living. Maybe I should do all of these from home. Just have little stick figures. Hopefully that was something to see. That was kind of enjoyable. I certainly had fun. Please join me again. Do follow. And as we said, anything from the earlier tour and from this one, any donation, I personally am going to give to the Red Cross from today, because it was such a lovely day. It was 2 places that I had never been on a tour of. Anyway, thank you so much. Join me again. Thank you, all the usual suspects and all the new suspects. Lots of love to you all. Thank you so much. Take care.